Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome back one more time for In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral. And we return for another midweek feast of flat racing with 4 days up in Yorkshire at the Knavesmire for the Ebor meeting at York. Europe's richest handicap taking centre stage on Saturday with 300 grand to the winner and a lot more to get stuck into as well. My name is Ross Brierley and I'll be sat in the studio every evening for the next 4 nights and hoping to pick out a few winners on the Knavesmire. 1 or 2 would do. At the prices they normally go in at York, that should be enough to make a bit of a profit as well. Of course, it is the Ebor meeting, the big race on Saturday afternoon. We're still awaiting decks for that, of course. A few well-fancied horses, not necessarily guaranteed a run. But before that, we've got a lot more to look forward to as well. Of course, we've got 3 Group 1s, the International, the Yorkshire Oaks and the Nunthorpe. The juveniles come for the Acomb, the Lowther and the Gimcrack as well. We've got the Classic Generations, St Ledger Clues in the Voltigeur, the Lonsdale Cup, the Strensall, the City of York, 13 other handicaps and big names as well. Love, Mishriff, Stradivarius, Snowfall, Wonderful Tonight, and maybe even Space Blues and Golden Pal and Sueza in the sprints at the back end of the week as well. So if that doesn't whet your appetite, I don't know what will. We are live and interactive on YouTube and Facebook right now, so like the stream and get your comments in as well, and we'll stick the best ones up on the screen. I know we've got plenty of regular viewers who get in touch, so please do let us know what you are backing at York this week. Let's get stuck in with our usual panel. And to my left, a southerner in pretty much 99% of his makeup, but he decided to go to Yorkshire last week just to get a bit of a feel for the place. And I get the feeling 4 days at York with handicaps, double-figure fields, extra places all over the place. Paul Kealy is a man who will be very excited ahead of the Knavesmire tomorrow.
Yeah, I love York. Yeah, I mean, I love all the big festivals anyway, but with York, when you get a handicap, you almost never get anything less than 10 runners, do you? And I like, bigger the field, the more fun it is to try and find a winner at a decent price. So, yeah, I love all of that. There's some really, really interesting group races as well, particularly the 2-year-old race, the second on the card tomorrow as well. So, yeah, really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's not autumn yet. It feels a bit like it. We've still got a heat wave.
It's freezing, isn't it?
To come. It is freezing, yeah. It is incredibly cold.
I nearly put the heating on yesterday. It's ridiculous. Middle of August.
So York is that kind of that transitional period, isn't it, from your early season, your summer festivals towards your back end flat season action. So
yeah, from now on, you really start to think, well, I'm going to see some classic contenders for next season when it comes to the 2-year-old races, and I think the Acomb's a case in point.
Yeah, absolutely. Small field for the Acomb, but a quality one. So Paul is your man, of course, for the handicaps. He is the punter on the panel. The purist on the panel is Tom Segal, sat at home. When was the last time you visited the fair city of York, Tom?
About 17 hours ago, Ross.
Right, okay.
I was up in York looking around universities with my daughter and my family. Had a lovely time. Never been to York before, never been racing at York before, never seen York Racecourse before, but had a quick mosey round and thought York, the town, was absolutely fantastic. Loved it. I hope my daughter goes there. I might get to go racing if she goes there.
Yeah. So you've been walking the track then? You know where the best ground is? Is that what you were up there for?
I didn't go that far. I drove past it.
Right. Okay. And how was the A64? Did it ride
It was fine.
faster on either side?
Funny hours, so we were fine. I hear Keel's had a bit of a nightmare trek up there, but no, it was fine. I enjoyed it. It's lovely. York's lovely. Preferred it to Sheffield. Put it like that.
Yeah, well, thanks. Given I'm from Sheffield, Tom, I really appreciate that.
Funnily enough, I did know that. Why do you think I said it?
Well, I don't know. It was so dry. I thought you might have forgotten. But little dagger to the heart there. But
sorry, Rob.
No,
sorry, apologies.
You're all just jealous of the greatest county in the country, of course, by quite some way. Isn't that right, David Stevens?
As someone that comes from Sussex, everyone knows that what God did was rehearse on Yorkshire and then moved it 300 miles south so he had good weather. But now, look, I'm a huge fan of York and this meeting. I think outside of the Royal meeting, I think this is the best concentration of quality we get through our flat season here in the UK. And some of those names you were mentioning at the start there, Ross, as you said, if that doesn't whet the appetite, nothing will. So, yeah, fantastic 4 days coming up and hoping the boys can point me in the direction of some winners in these big handicaps.
Okay, and what are we talking about turnover, David, in terms of York compared to your Ascots and your Goodwoods?
Yeah, I mean, it's right up there in the flat season, absolutely. Royal Ascot's the biggest week of the year. and then York is pretty much a close second in there, as I say, just the 4 days compared to 5. But it's a meeting, I think, the purists and the punters love getting stuck into. It really does have something for everything, something for everyone.
It does. It has someone for everything. Absolutely. That's what they say at York. So Lakes Dave is going to hopefully be giving us some price boosts and some extra places as well as we get stuck into York. And 4 days instead of 5, which, that is music to my ears for after Goodwood and Ascot. That 5th day always seems just a little bit of a step too far. But luckily, we don't have 5 days at York because we've got so many runners in the races. We'd be here all week trying to preview them. We are here all week trying to preview them. And we're going to start off with a classic York race, of course. One thing York is known for is fiendishly difficult handicaps, and in particular, those sprints. So you do love a cavalry charge at York, and there's quite a few of them to get into this week. And we kick off over 5.5 furlongs on day one, with 22 of them lining up and going to post. And as Paul said, they rarely have a small field at York, and they rarely have a short price favourite either. 13-2 the field here, with Twilight Calls, unsurprisingly, at the top of the betting at York for Henry Candy and David Probert, who is riding out of his skin. When the dealing's done is 7-1, Hurricane Ivor 8-1, Pendleton 9s, Desert Safari is 10-1, 11-1 Mondomege, 12-1 Live in the Moment, 14-1 Copper Knight, and bigger prices the rest. Again, a proper York sprint handicap, but the market dominated here by 3-year-olds who've never visited the track. And York is one of those racecourses, Paul, especially in the sprints where horses can come 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times and never get off the mark and eventually break their duck. But you've got Twilight Calls and When the Dealing's Done, both in good form, but this is their first try at this racecourse. Yeah,
I don't think you can argue with their position in the market, though. I mean, they could take to it straight away. They might not. I mean, obviously, I think York, among all the big festival tracks, is the one that lends itself to specialists. Mm-hmm. And so, I always like to have a horse that has run at York before. I don't think Twilight Calls really had any excuses at Goodwood, to be honest. When fourth, or when the deal is done, he is £6 better off. But I'm looking further afield. I've got a couple of old favs of mine that I'm giving one last chance to. I've been absolutely convinced that both of them are going to win a decent race at some point. One of them is a 4-year-old called Mondomege, he's
back.
Who is a bit of a nutter, but he's also a very talented nutter. I mean, he hasn't won since he thrashed Just Another Bottle at Pontefract with Caspian Prince behind. And obviously Just Another Bottle won the Great St Wilfrid on Saturday, but he's run really well since as well, though. He's been fourth in the dash at Epsom. He was second to Edgelab at Newcastle. He was third to Significantly at Ascot. All good runs. Last time not so good, and that was here. But his 7th there, he was drawn 15 to 16. I think he's a horse that definitely needs cover. He never saw any at all. And I also think he's a horse that finishes better over 5 than he does over 6. So this particular trip, 5 furlong, 89 yards, might suit him down to the ground.
It could be this and the Portland that make kind of...
Yeah, exactly. This is, it could be. This could be his perfect race. And I think the same could be said of one at a much bigger price, who has been nibbled at today, and that is Major Jumbo. Now, I have backed him a couple of times, including when he was third to Edgelab at Newcastle, 1 place behind Mondomege. Next time at Ascot, he just went off too fast to get that stiff 6 furlongs and dropped back. And then, he basically had no chance of Goodwood when the ground went borderline heavy. He's got some form on soft ground, but it's not really his. He still led them a merry dance on the far side for a fairway. But then you come back to his York form. Now, his York form's really good. He's run there 9 times. He's been 3 times placed in big field 5 furlong handicaps. He's won 2 6 furlong handicaps, and he's been second in the Duke of York. And the last time he raced over shorter than 6 furlongs on decent ground, he was rated 107, and he now comes in here, back at his best track off a mark of 93. I think he'll last a lot longer. Whether it's long enough, I don't know. But I'm more than prepared to give him a chance at the price.
Yeah, I mean, last season he raced here twice. He ran behind Starman and Dakota Gold on his last start, and then his penultimate start, Moss Gill and Kayamoro.
Yeah, and that Moss Gill race is the performance there. He was only 6, but he was beaten less than 2 lengths. That's good enough to win this off a mark of 93. Easily good enough to win it.
He was a stone higher in the ratings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, he's a 7-year-old. He's lost his form a bit. We do see these sprinters come back, don't we? I mean, Caspian Prince has now been retired, but I mean, he's won a couple of times this season, hasn't he? At the age of 12. So it can be done. I mean, there are others. I mean, anything William Haggis runs, you've got to be afraid of. 1, because we all know that he likes to win at York. 2, because he couldn't come into the meeting in any better form. I think it's 27 of his last 45 runners have finished first and second, which is ridiculous. It looks a bit in and out, Hurricane Ivor, but a couple of his bad runs this season, one here, were on soft ground. I mean,
that's the key, isn't it? He's raced 4 times, twice on really soft ground, twice on faster. And
he's looked really good on the faster ground. And I don't know what he was doing going off at 7-1 for the Stewards Cup, given the ground was virtually bottomless, and he ran how you would expect him to do so based on his form on that surface. So he's got a chance. But I'm going for Mondamedge and Major Jumbo.
Mondamedge and Major Jumbo then. A couple of old hands who have course form. Social comments. George Murray says, do Tom and Paul like front runners or held up horses at York? That is a good question. Or Tom, do you like them somewhere in between? That's always the peach of a position, isn't it? In the catbird seat, as it were.
I have no preference for any of them. I think it depends on the race, doesn't it? I mean, I think if you get, it's all about the pace. It's one thing I'm absolutely rubbish at predicting is how fast they're going to go in these races. So if they go slow, you want to be up front. If they go too fast, you want to be in the back, just like any other track. I don't think York is any different from anywhere else. It used to definitely be a front runner's track, but I don't think it is anymore. Thank God Paul took about 20 minutes explaining that 5 handicap. I think if you could frame a race for me that I would like least, it's that one.
Yeah, I assume, Tom, that you'd gone off to make a cup of tea while Paul was briefing this one.
I let the dog out, I fed her, I did everything while Keels was rabbiting on about Mondamedge. I mean, how many times have we heard about Mondamedge and Major Jumbo?
Mondamedge keeps it in the frame though. He's a free money, especially with the extra places in these sort of races.
Yeah, but he is the kind of horse that I want. When you give up on him, I'm going to start backing him. So
well, there's enough of them. You've got about 100 horses to back for the rest of the flat season.
But I mean, it's a wide open race. Another social comment in here from Kieran Catterson says, Hurricane Ivor for me, happy back at this trip, still unexposed, and Yard do well here. They do indeed. They know which type of horses to send to York. To cut down on your talking time a bit more, Tom, I'll give you a few other things. Last 15 years of this race, every winner had previously run at York at some point. So again, that course form coming to the fore. And 3-year-olds, 0 wins, 0 places from 14 runners in the past decade. So this market is made up by 2 horses who are 3-year-olds who've never been to the track. So surely there's something that caught your eye a bit, Tom, at bigger prices.
No, nothing at all. Major Jumbo, perhaps. Major Jumbo, perhaps. I thought he likes the track, doesn't he? I mean, I as I say,
you can't jump on that after slagging me off for tipping it again.
Well, I thought I did have a look at him, and I did think that the York form was key for him, wasn't he? He really loves it there. He's he was second to Hurricane. Well, what's the horse? El Astronaute, or third a few years ago. Then he won a big handicap, didn't he? Year after that. I mean, he's just got very good York form, and as Keel says, he's been running okay. I noticed when I turned on to do this, he was about 33-1. Now he's about 20-1. So I think Paul has been doing his magic and spoiling the price there. But I did think that he might run well. The rest, I have no idea about. The only thing I would say to just enlighten Paul's comments about the ground, it is 6.4 or 6.5. Now, everywhere else in the country, that is good to soft ground. 6.4 on the going stick. I think it's going to be on the easy side of good tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be that quick at all. I think it might be quick by the end of the week. But the first day, when I was up there, they were talking about it being soft and it'd been raining a lot. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as fast as people think on the first day. I think there'll be plenty of give in the ground. I don't know who that helps because as I say, it's not my type of race. But
just a quick one on that, Tom. Just going back to 22nd of May back at York, where they had 23 millimetres of rain in the week leading up to that meeting, and the going stick was 6.1, and that was officially soft ground. So 6.1 to 6.4, softer good doesn't seem right.
No. I think they what they do is they try and make sure that everyone runs, don't they? First day of the season. I mean, if you look back historically, good to soft has been 6.4, 6.5. That's what we're talking at the moment. They do at the track, they do a sort of an irrigation thing before the big sprint, the last meeting there. And if you noticed, all the horses that won at the last meeting were soft ground horses. And I think they sort of they try and get the ground perfect for the Ebor meeting. They always do a great job at York with the ground. No qualms there. But I do think it will be riding on the soft side for the first race, if that helps anyone. Certainly didn't help me. But it might mean that you might want to be against Hurricane Ivor if you think that the ground's an issue for him.
Okay, there's a few thoughts then ahead of the opener at York, and I'm going to come to you, David, with a request for a price on Live in the Moment as well. Who for Adam West and Rob Havlin. This horse is 2 from 2 at the track. Loves soft ground. Absolutely rattled home from God knows where to win under George Adobe at August. Then won twice more. Returned. Only a couple of weeks ago with a fantastic run at Chelmsford that I thought was very much to set him up for this meeting.
Live in the Moment is in there at 12 to 1, Ross. A couple of the others, well, Major Jumbo obviously mentioned, has been back 28 to 1 into 22 to 1 there that kills fancies. 5 places each way to kick us off. And a quick plug, an early plug for our beaten by a length offer, of course, on every race at York this week. If you are beaten by a length, or indeed up to a length, you get a free bet up to £10. So, well, a bit of insurance there, as we always say. For what it's worth, I fancy, it's hard to fancy anything strongly in this race, but have a couple of quid each way on Copper Knight. He's had a busy season. He's been largely consistent. Second at Donny last time. He's a course winner. And, of course, Tim Easterby, like all these Yorkshire trainers, will have his squad primed for this meeting.
Yeah, I love a Tim Easterby handicapper who they always crop up at some point. Like you said, Copper Knight is a proper York favourite and specialist. So there's a few. Then we didn't have that many fancies in the opener, but we gave it a good old preview, that's for sure. So let's move on to a race that probably shouldn't take as long because they've got a much smaller field to get involved in. But it is a quality lineup for the Acomb Stakes, the second race on the card at York tomorrow. The 225 and just the 5 of them going to post for this 7 furlong juvenile Group 3, and the favourites. In fact, the market has flip-flopped a little bit because Dubai Legend was a short price favourite when the markets opened and is now 9 to 4 joint with Eraz, 5 to 2 Noble Truth, 7 to 1 Imperial Fighter, and Royal Patronage is the outsider here at 12 to 1 for the Acomb Stakes, which is a bit of a funny 2-year-old race, really, isn't it? You've got horses, a lot of them who started mid-season over 7 furlongs, and in theory this should throw up future Group 1 winners over a mile, but 2 Group 1 winners in the past 10 years, Phoenix of Spain, who went on to win the Irish Guineas, and Gear Up, who won in terrible ground at the back end in France. So, Tom, I'm going to come to you first because you love a 2-year-old race and you love a group race as well. But yeah, the Acomb Stakes, it's always a bit of a funny one. It's at a funny point in the season, isn't it? Your back end stamina-laden 2-year-olds haven't come out yet, and your speedier types swerve it.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. I think also it's a bit of the York factor as well. None of these horses, or very few of them, ever run at York. Do they have run at York yet? Because there hasn't been any 7 furlong races really there yet. So they come in here not knowing, it's a very different ground to what they would have ever raced on before. So that's part of the reason why I don't think we've seen that many great horses win the race. Phoenix of Spain won. It was very quick ground that day when he won, and he went on to win the Irish Guineas on quick ground. As I say, I think this is probably the best 2-year-old race so far this season in terms of, there's only 5 runners, but I think you can make a case for all 5. They've all won their maidens in tremendous style. They're all got big entries. Personally, I fancy Noble Truth a bit for Godolphin. I just thought that they are the biggest stable in the country now. I think that they've got the best group of horses anywhere in the world, probably. This horse is the only, there's only 2 of them entered in the national stakes, got entries in every big race coming up, the Dewhurst, every race. They clearly think he's really good. I was really impressed with him when he beat Eraz. I thought if they'd have gone another furlong, he'd have won by 10 lengths. I'm not sure Eraz will stay this trip as well as him. So he'd be my choice. The fly in the ointment is definitely Dubai Legend, who was really impressive at Doncaster and could easily be as good as him. Hugo Palmer's clearly got loads of good 2-year-olds this season. Won the Group 1 the other day with Ebro River. So I think it's between the top 3. I think it'll be hard for Imperial Fighter and Royal Patronage to match strides with those 3. I'm personally hoping Noble Truth wins, but it's a toss-up between him and Dubai Legend.
Yeah, you're saying about the boys in blue, Tom. They've got New Science, who won a listed race over 7 furlongs. Yeah. Charlie Appleby, Native Trail, of course, who won at Newmarket, Group 2 company. So they certainly should know where they stand with Noble Truth. It's currently a 5 to 2 shot.
Yeah, neither of those, Ross, are in the national stakes, for example, in Ireland, or well, actually Native Trail is, but the other one isn't. New Science talked about. They clearly think he's very good.
Yeah, Noble Truth then is a 5 to 2 shot here for Appleby and Buick, a rare Appleby horse who improved on debut. They normally are fit and well at first time out. But Eraz, Tom said he wouldn't reverse the form, but of course he ran against Noble Truth and he came from a lot further back to finish second on his debut. So it is tight between them. And as Tom said, the other two have got a chance as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing about Noble Truth is Noble Truth was having his second run, Iraz was having his first, and he's since gone to Ascot and really had the clock watchers purring with what he did in his closing sectionals there. Apparently the fastest juvenile since they had sectionals there, which obviously isn't that long, but even so, he's obviously very decent. I actually thought he might end up favourite. And Dubai Legend has got two. I mean, he had the start of his race at Doncaster was really slow, but I mean they didn't half quicken up, and he went miles clear. And he's credited with a 10.56 furlong and a 10.9 something as well in consecutive furlongs. So he's obviously pretty quick. I don't know how you could form a really, really strong opinion over that. I think any one of the three could win. I was leaning towards Iraz, if anything, but not enough to have a bet. And like some said, Imperial Fighter was pretty impressive against probably the right horse, because Ring of Bearer was really, really well backed. But that was Goodwood. That was bottomless ground on the final maiden on the card on Saturday.
Very different proposition.
I think as he said, as Tom said, the ground may be on the easy side, but it ain't going to be soft. You know what I mean? It might be on the easy side, but it certainly isn't going to be what it was like at Goodwood. Yeah. I think Royal Patronage is probably biting off a bit more than he could chew. He did win really well last time at Epsom, but probably got the run of the race and needs to step up a big deal. So, slight preference for Iraz. Wouldn't surprise me if any of them won, and if one of them wins really well, you could be seeing some serious ripples in the Guineas markets.
Yeah, there was then 94 with Dubai Legend. Just to mention Imperial Fighter, because last time we were in, we were talking. I remember saying to you, I fancied a Balding horse at Newmarket because they improved so much. Imperial Fighter, first time out winner. Balding, second time out 2-year-olds this year in Class 1s are 3 from 4. And if you, just stats wise, first run 2-year-olds Balding, career wise, he's got a 7.7% strike rate, 49 winners from 637. Second time out, 18.3% strike rate. And third time out, 22.5% strike rate. So they get better every time.
Did you see what he had second time out after winning first time out? You didn't look for that, did you?
Well done, Keels.
Got him.
Give me a second. I'll boot up the old query machine and we'll see how we go. No, I don't have that. Maybe David Stevens does. Who knows? David, what have you got? You got any stats up your sleeve that Paul can shoot down immediately?
37% Andrew Balding, second time up after first time winner.
You just made that right up.
If you believe that, Kills, you believe anything.
Lies, damn lies and statistics, David. What did you make of the Acomb tomorrow? There seems to be a bit of money about for Eros, and Dubai Legend was, correct me if I'm wrong, but was significantly shorter when the markets opened.
Well, Noble Truth has been favoured at one point as well. So between the three of them, the guys have summed it up. Just obviously, as always, a mention for the Jim Crowley blog he does for us. You can read that on all the Coral social pages. He's fairly confident. He's fairly hopeful he can reverse placings with Noble Truth. As Keel said, that was his first run that day. He's gone to Ascot, obviously bolted up. He's pleasing Jim like he does at home. But Dubai Legend, you had to be impressed with him at Doncaster as well. You can't ignore anything Andrew Balding sends out at the moment. I think I'm with Keels on this. I think it's notoriously hard to have a strong view on it. Be nice to see something win and win well. And as Keel says, we'll be dusting off those Guineas quotes.
We will indeed. Whether they'll actually have any impact on the Guineas, of course, is another matter, because, like I said, it hasn't made that much of a difference in the past, the Acomb Stakes. But just to reiterate the selections, Paul.
Just leaning towards Eras, but I don't think I'll be punting it race myself.
Okay, very well. And Tom?
I like Noble Truth a bit, but as Keel says, I just want to see the three of them. I think the three really top-class 2-year-olds, and whoever comes out on top will be a Guineas contender for sure.
Okay, very well. And David, any thoughts?
If you press me to have a bet, I'd say Dubai Legend.
Okay, very well. And I am going to sit right on the fence with this one. Unless these, I'm currently trying to crunch that stat right now, unless that comes through. But still, keeping an eye on Imperial Fighter because of those Balding figures second time out. So, okay, Acomb Stakes, then 5 runners and all of them in with a squeak. Next up, it's the Voltigeur, of course, with 8 runners. And to be fair, all of them in with a squeak. 3-1 favourite here is Kamari for Charlie Appleby once again, and Will Buick. Sir Lucan is 130, High Definition 130, Third Realm 13-2, 9-1 Your Beer with Youth Spirit, 14-1 The Mediterranean, and 25-1 The outsider of the lot is Scope. Tom, again, it's a group race. I'll come to you first for this race. And quite a few of these, of course, have already met each other in various races up and down the summer so far. Apart from really Kealy, who looks so impressive at Ascot. And you were saying about the Godolphin team, they're 3-year-olds this year. I mean, if he's anywhere near as good as the other horses he'll have been training with at home, he's got to have every chance of winning this.
Yeah, he's nowhere near as good as them, though. That's the point, Ross. I mean, you know what? I don't think there's anyone as good as Hurricane Lane and Ade are. He's miles behind him. And the thing about him, he's got a penalty for winning a Queen's Vase, which hasn't worked out that well. Wordsworth gets beaten every time he runs. The third Stowell got absolutely piled in the Bahrain Trophy. Taipan's lost it's just not very good. It's just not very good form. I understand. I get the fact that he's only had 3 runs, plenty more to come from him. But under a penalty on what he's shown, I think he's got to be taken on at the top of the market. When I started doing this, Sir Lucan this morning, Sir Lucan was about 5-1. He was my fancy and still is my fancy. I have to admit, 130 is plenty skinny enough for a horse by Camelot, who looks to have a bit of his own ideas about the game. He's got his cheek pieces on. I thought he should have won at Goodwood the other day. I didn't think he really went through with it at the right time. I thought he got out in plenty of time and sort of he looked to be finishing fast, but I wonder whether he sort of was thinking about it. Anyway, he's got the cheek pieces on. Frankie's back on. I think don't see anything in the jockey bookings there. I think Ryan would have had to have ride high definition after all the hype about him. And so Luke and Frankie rode him last time. Would I back him at 100 to 33-1? I probably wouldn't. I'd probably leave him now and see where he went in the market. I think the likes of Third Realm and Youth Spirit are just on his tail. At Goodwood, Youth Spirit had a penalty that day, doesn't this time, so he comes into it. He might be an each-way bet in the race. I've gone for Sir Lucan. Little bit disappointed that he's vying for favouritism now, given the slight doubts about his temperament.
Yeah, Sir Lucan, yes. Yeah, because he's related to Sir Dragonet, isn't he? So there's obviously plenty of ability, but also quite a few thoughts going on in that head. He was given quite a lot to do at Goodwood. He travelled very well. He came home strongly. But by that point, Ottoman Emperor had kicked and gone. But the problem with these middle distance group races, Paul, is they run against each other all the time. And you look at it and you're trying to work out whether the race is going to unfold the same, differently, or take a chance on that beaten horse.
I mean, I think when you've got a difficult horse like Sir Lucan as well, he probably has to be ridden that way because he's just, I don't know whether he's ungenuine, he's just quirky.
Yeah.
So Dragonet the same. So when you've got that,
you've already
got that in his pedigree and you've seen what he does. I mean, I don't trust him. Certainly don't trust him at the price. I don't trust high definition at all. I think we all got carried away by the way he finished his races last year, and you thought, well, he's made life really hard for his jockey on both occasions as a 2-year-old, but still won. And you think, well, put that down to greenness. But then if it carries over into the next season, it's more than greenness, isn't it? And I think he did have a little stumble at the Curragh in the Irish Derby, but I think he chucked in the trowel straight away afterwards. And I have a serious suspicion that he doesn't really want to play the game.
Yeah.
Well, wait and see. You have to persevere with him. He's got ability on the form of his third to Hurricane Lane in the Dante, although I think Hurricane Lane has left that form well behind. But on that form, he's arguably the one to beat. He's officially the highest rated horse in the race. But I don't trust him at all. I agree with Tom about Kealy. I don't think that Queen's Vase was great. He's penalised. The horse he beat in the Queen's Vase was behind Sir Lucan, Third Realm and Youth Spirit. In the Gordon Stakes went 5th, Wordsworth. So I'm not 100% sold on that. So I was looking further down. And I thought Third Realm and New Spirit had at least as good a chances as Sir Lucan, both a bit more reliable. And New Spirit just, he's 3 times the price of Sir Lucan. He was giving him £3. They arguably come out the same horse. I wouldn't argue that Sir Lucan is potentially the more talented, but I think Youth Spirit, is apart from that Derby run when he sort of boiled over before the start, I think he's very honest, and I think he really tried, even when he got closed up a little bit at Goodwood. It probably didn't cost him any more than a head, to be honest, but he was giving £3 to them then, and he's not now, and I think he's fully entitled to be bang on the premises, and is the each way bet in the race.
Okay, each way bet in the race then, and currently at a 9-1 shot here at York. But like I said, they've all got a little bit of a chance. Your Beer didn't settle, but James Doyle's back in the saddle. The Mediterranean, of course, not necessarily sure he would have been suited by the conditions on his last couple of starts. And Scope for a yard who have got a bit of previous from this family as well, with 3-year-olds winning group races over middle distances, and then of course winning Ledger or mile and 6 races at the back end as well. So David, unsurprisingly, it's a nice little field this, and I'm sure there's going to be some each way doubles and trebles with horses in this race, because we are 3-1 the field for Kamari at the top of the betting.
Yeah, and Kamari has been easy to back today, again, for the reasons the guys have outlined. He was 5-2, he's out to 3-1. The 2 O'Brien horses have been back there, both from 4-1 into 130. Keel's made an excellent case for Youth Spirit, and at the prices, I think he looks the value bet given. I think there are question marks about the 3 at the head of the betting. But if you do fancy the O'Brien pair, plus the Mediterranean Aiden trains as well, we do have our first price boost of the night. And it was odds on that he trains the winner of the Voltager, but it's now 11-10. So 11-10, Aidan O'Brien trains the winner of this. And also, if you do like Kamari, and also William Buick has a lot of good rise today. Noble Truth, When the Dealing's Done, amongst others. Will Buick, who's been in great form this season, to ride a double, or indeed more than 2 winners tomorrow, was 9-2, now 11-2. So couple there to get stuck into, whether you fancy the Ballydor runners or the Godolphin Blue.
Okay, a couple of price boosts then. William Buick to ride a double at York on Wednesday, 11-2, out from 9-2. Of course, as we said, he's got When the Dealing's Done, Noble Truth, Kamari, and Attire coming up in the Fillies sprint a little bit later on. And Aidan O'Brien to win the race. Last time he won it was with Idaho back in 2016. That's his only winner in the past 10 years. So a couple of price boosts there for you in the Voltager Stakes. Of course, this is a bit of a trial for the St Ledger. 4 winners of the Ledger in the past 12 years ran in this, but only one of them actually won it. Much like the Gordon Stakes at Goodwood. Often getting beaten in this contest can give you a chance to step up and turn around the form in the big race at Doncaster in September. So it's a wide open Voltager. Paul, what are you backing?
Youth Spirit each way.
Youth Spirit each way. Tom?
I've backed Sir Lucan. I can't advise guys to get stuck in around 3-1 now. I wait to see where he goes in the market. And I think Third Realm and Youth Spirit are just as, as Keels points out, they're good each way bets at the price.
Okay. And David, any strong opinions from you?
No, just strong opinions. I'll cheer home Youth Spirit for you, Keels.
Thanks, mate. It's probably doubled in price now that you've tipped it.
Yeah, that was just going. We might as well pick that up, David. Of course, it is becoming a bit of a running theme of the show when you were on. Simon stepped into your seat and tipped a couple of nice winners at the back end of Goodwood. So the pressure's on, mate.
He just doesn't get it, does he? He just doesn't get what his role is in this. It's not to tip winners. It's to stop them.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you should remind him that he actually works for a bookie.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, good luck anyway to Paul and Tom at the very least for the Voltager tomorrow. That is the third race on the York card, of course, the 3 o'clock. The fourth race is a 3:35, and it is the first Group 1 of the week over at York, and the feature race of day 1. Somewhat softened by the withdrawal, of course, of St Mark's Basilica, but made ever more intriguing by Love parachuting in to replace him. Mishriff is top of the betting here at 13-8. Love is 5-2. Alcohol Free is 5-1, stepping up in trip. Mohafeth is 6-1. 11-1. Alan Kerr 14-1. Max Swinney and 33-1. The outsider of the lot is Juan Elcano. So in terms of actual pure quality, only one horse rated over 120 in this race does mean that it's a fairly weak renewal of the international in terms of pure ratings, Tom. And obviously St Mark's Basilica not running is a bit disappointing, but I mean, it's ultra competitive, isn't it? So if you're going for an actual quality angle of seeing the very best versus the very best, you're going to be a little bit disappointed here to an extent, but you've got a couple of horses, 3-year-olds who could step up, and some fan favourites, Love in particular, and Mishriff, who everyone seems to always want to take on, but he keeps running his race.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic race, Ross. I love it. I thought, sometimes we get these all-age races and you find, it's a 2-horse race or 1-horse race. I think you can make cases for lots in this. I love it as a betting race. I'm a massive fan of Mishriff, always have been since he won the French Derby. I think he's undoubtedly the one to beat, but I don't think he's unbeatable. I can't quite work out why Love is as close to him in the market, because I've been watching the King George about 4,000 times. He beat her easily, and he beat her hollow from start to finish. I can't quite work out why anyone thinks Love will change those placings. Maybe it's the York factor. Maybe it's the fact that she was so impressive in the Yorkshire Oaks last year, but she was beating nothing. I think Mishriff is the right favourite. Of the rest, I just can't see Alcohol Free staying. I mean, even if she's not bred to stay, she pulls hard, and it's just a reach for me to think that this will be her best trip. The same with Mo Harfeth for me. I mean, he looked like he came to win the York race the other day, and then I think he was in front halfway up the run-in, and then Bangkok and Juan Elcano came past him. I think Keel's pointed out on this show that even on form, he's miles behind the best of these. I think that proved to me that he's not quite as good as these. Max Winnie's a dual Group 1 winner, isn't he? But I think both of those have come on heavy ground, so he's out. I think the horse to back here has to be Alan Kerr for William Haggis. I know he's got Mo Harfeth in there, but I think Alan Kerr's the most underrated 3-year-old in training. I love 3-year-olds in these races, always have done. They've had a great run in them this year. They've won most of them, I think, against their older horses. I think he's beaten Adayar, he's beaten Lone Eagle, which might, this season puts him down right up with the best 3-year-olds around. He absolutely hacked up at Royal Ascot. I know that wasn't a good race, but he couldn't have won any easier. And I thought he enhanced his reputation in France last time because he had no chance after about half a furlong. He was drawn right on the wide outside. James Doyle adopted him in at last. He must have been 10 lengths behind Hurricane Lane at halfway round. He closed that gap to me to 6 or 7. Clearly would have been second, and I think he would have given him something to do on a different day. I just think he's a good horse. Now, whether he can beat Rick Mishriff, I don't know. I think the drop back to 10 furlongs will suit him. I think the ground will be perfect for him. Just think he's the value against the favourite in the race. I do think Mishriff will win, probably. But if you're having a bet in the race, I think you've got to consider Alan Kerr. I think he's a much underrated horse.
Yeah, that's our classic trial form, of course, at Sandown. 10 furlongs the distance. He beat Adriar and he beat Lone Eagle. And he's rated 110 here, Alan Kerr. And obviously Adriar is rated, 120, what was it? 127, and Lone Eagle rated 119. So if you price him up on official ratings, then you can understand why he's 11-1. But as Paul said, we'll get to him in a second, the Haggis team are red hot. Who wins the Juddmonte was the question we asked for everyone watching at home, and most people are siding, to be fair, with the favourite Mishriff, 40%. But people thinking Alcohol Free could have a bit more chance than the market is suggesting, but she is getting quite a bit of a fan club at the moment, 25%, Love 21%, and any other 13% then here for the International Stakes. Paul, 3-year-olds versus older horses, 10 furlongs, horses stepping up, horses stepping back. Again, it might not be fantastic in terms of pure top quality 120 plus horses, but as I was saying, it's a good race. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think Mishriff's a bit of a good thing, actually. I think it'll be nearer even money than 13.08. He's available with Cole at the moment, that's for sure. Tom said he's got the best form. He beat Love comfortably. Now, Love has the York form, having won the Yorkshire Oaks last year. But you worry about the form of Aidan O'Brien, both in Britain at the moment and in general. He's only 2 from 29 in Ireland this month. He's 4 from 62 in Britain since June.
He didn't have a good Ascot.
No,
he didn't have a good
and
one.
he's got a just under 8% strike rate at York's Ebor meeting as well. It's not the happiest. Hasn't been the happiest of hunting grounds for him over time. Massive level stakes losses, and as I said, Love is, she was comfortably held by Mishriff last time. I just don't see how the others are going to step up. See, Alcohol Free doesn't just need to stay; she needs to improve.
Yeah.
And
she keeps improving.
She does keep improving. Don't get me wrong, and I'm glad they're running her, even though I don't think she'll stay. I think it's really good, really sporting thing to do because she isn't remotely bred to stay. She races really keenly. I mean, she was strongest at the end of that Sussex Stakes, but they were all slowing down quite markedly, I think.
Yeah. One thing I would say, I mean, we said, before she ran over a mile, she's not bred to stay a mile, and she keeps getting that so well.
Yeah.
I did have a look again, stats-wise, he's digging around as like a half.
If she races that keen, I mean, Ashley Murphy had to sort of bury her in the Sussex because she was so keen on the outside early. If she does that, an extra 2.5 furlongs, it's not just 2 furlongs, remember.
I'm against her all the time. She keeps.
Oh no, yeah, I was all over her at the start of the season. She was going to win the Guinea, she was going to win everything, and then she won the Fred Darling, and I thought, hang on, she ain't going to stay. And then that was it. I sort of, and then got her wrong from then on. So, maybe she will, but I can't see it myself. I said I don't think my half is as good as everyone thinks he is. And Alan Kerr might be the one. But I mean, if the ground is on the easy side, Max Swinney's a big price because he is ground dependent. It would have to be proper good to soft, I think, for him to be able to show his best form. But Jim Bolger, you never rule him out springing an upset, do you? But, I think, his form, in winning the Irish Guineas and in winning the Futurity last year is pretty decent. And, if there is any ease in the ground, we've seen from the early skirmishes that there is, then I might be tempted into doing. But then you've only got your 7 runners, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I think I just think the safest bet is Mishriff. He's the best horse in the race. He's got the best form. He's been round the world. He seems to act anywhere. So why shouldn't he act at York?
He took a few last season. He got better as the season progresses. And
exactly.
Third run, of course.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is, everything sets up for him. He's never won a Group 1 in Britain, but he'll never get a better chance.
Yeah, Mishriff then is 13-8 for the Gosling team. Of course, won it a few years ago with Roaring Lion. But Mishriff, David, is the best horse in the race by quite a few pounds as well. And the punters are coming for him. And he's 13-8 again. He probably was about 9-4, 5-2 at some point, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, following the final declarations yesterday, there wasn't a lot between him and Love. And for a moment, it looks as if Love might even take clear favouritism. But the money has come from Mishriff. Just to confirm, actually, it's 3 places each way. A 50 odds, 1, 2, 3 in this race. James Knight is feeling very, very generous, kills. So your Max Sweeney at 14s and Tom, your Alan Kerr at 11s become very much each way propositions there. So, but again, I'm afraid, kills, I'm with you on this. I thought 3rd in the Coral Eclipse. Obviously, that's the St Mark's Basilica form. Then 2nd in the King George, clear of Love that day. I think this makes Mishriff, if there's such a thing as a good thing at York, as you said, I don't think he'll have a better chance to win at a Group 1 on home soil of the rest. Alcohol free, look, she's not bred to get it. She doesn't run as if she'll get it, but full master connections. And the season Andrew Balding's having, that really would be some result. My half F, even though Jim Crowley rides it and likes the horse a lot, I just don't think he's good enough. And Max Sweeney, yeah, I agree. I think his Irish Guineas win is quality, and Jim Bolger, another one, he just doesn't send them over for the sake of it. But yeah, I'm with Mishriff. I think this favourite, I say, is as much a good thing as you get on the nose, Mike.
If it does win, Dave, that doesn't count as a winner for you because you've got to do better than an even money shot.
I mean, he is doing better than it. It's a 30-8
It's
shot.
30-8,
Yeah, but it won't be on the day.
Well, he's
It will be now I've tipped it.
Well,
It might be double now you've tipped it.
unless Kealy steams in first thing in the morning, perhaps, but as he's an early riser. So Mishriff then 30-8. A good thing, according to Paul, but each way a pleasure, Tom. Remind us of your pick.
Yeah, I think Alan Kerr is the 3rd best 3-year-old middle distance colt in Europe. I don't think it's close, and I think he'll give Mishriff everything he can think about. I think he's really good.
Okay, Alan Kerr then is an 11-1 shot here for the International Stakes, the feature of day 1. That's the group race is done with them. We've still got some fiendish handicaps to deal with then. A couple of sprints. First up, a staying race here, 2 miles and half a furlong for the next contest. 17 of them running 0 to 105 handicap here. Again, it is typically competitive. Arcadian Sunrise being sent over by John Kealy is 9-2 favourite, ahead of Elysian Flame at 7s, Scaramanga at 7s, Platform 19, 8s with Bodyline, 9-1 Future Investment, 10-1 Get Shirty. Here and Now is 11-1 and bigger prices the rest. Here for the staying handicap, gone to Tom for the group races. These last 3 are much more your kettle of fish, Keels.
That's more like it. They get the boring ones out of the way, and then we've got a nice 17-runner handicap over 2 miles. Fantastic.
I expect an each way pay.
I've backed a couple in this. I mean, Arcadian Sunrise is interesting. He's won a Galway handicap hurdle last time, and he's only won 4 times over on the flat and could be improving. But Scaramanga was at least as good as over hurdles, and that win at Newbury last time, I mean, Tom tipped him, Scaramanga. I never spotted him at the time, but that has worked out exceptionally well. I mean, you cannot argue. He was half a length ahead of Rodrigo Diaz. It was more than 4 lengths back to Withhold in 3rd, who I backed, and Withhold was 2nd next time they called in wind, with loads of these horses behind him at Goodwood. And, of course, Rodrigo Diaz has run 2nd to Hookham in the Geoffrey Freer on Saturday at Newbury, finishing ahead of horses rated 105, 106, 104.
He might go and win a Melbourne Cup.
And he's gone up to 100 and something. He was rated 90 when Scaramanga beat him, so he's gone up £12, I think.
Just Hubert as well as down there.
Yeah, exactly. He's gone up £12. So Scaramanga with a £7 rise, I think that's generous enough. He'll have to go close again. He should do if he handles York. And an old favourite of mine that I do back a few times. I don't think Rodzinski liked Goodwood or got 2.5 mile last time. Mm-hmm. And he has otherwise run some really good, decent races. 3rd in the Northumberland Plate. I don't think the 6th in the To Live Your Dream, the Ebor favourite, worked out well for him because he was out the back, and it's not always the place to be at Newmarket. And he was he must have gone really short in running for this race last year because he'd actually gone clear a couple of furlongs out, just got pegged back off a pound higher mark than he is on now. I just think he'll run his race again here and be in the frame.
Okay, a couple against the field then for the staying handicap. Arcadian Sunrise, though, being sent over, an easy winner at Galway over hurdles. But a couple caught my eye. Tom, Elysian Flame, I thought was given way too much to do at Goodwood, and probably should have won that race, I thought. And I was quite interested by the French recruit, Get Shirty, who was splitting horses rated 117 and 113 only this time last summer, and he's come here, first start for David O'Mara, for a mark of 98.
Yeah, I mean, David O'Mara has a brilliant record at York, doesn't he? All meetings at York, but he obviously targets this meeting like no other. If he's as good as he was in France or wasn't flattered by those runs in France, he'd go. And I quite like Bodyline. I just thought that he won here last year, and I thought he was really impressive. The worry for him is if the ground is on the soft side. He definitely wants faster ground. If it's good or or slightly better than that, I think he's got a really good chance. I think this has been his target all along. I thought he ran well at Musselburgh on his comeback run the other day, second to Wise Eagle, Dark Jedi in behind. I thought that was really good form. I just thought he might be a smart Prescott special. He would do for me, and I'm cutting it short because I've got a football match to go to at 8 o'clock and I don't want to miss it.
Fair enough. Okay, are you off now, or are you...
No. I've got 2 more races to do, but then I'm off to see Reading, Bristol City.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. Okay, cutting it short then before torturing himself at the Majeski later on. York, the 410 then, wide open. Can we have a few extra places, please, David?
It's a fifth, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this race. But the bad news is, Ross, I've got 2 on my list. You've mentioned them both, Elysian Flame and Get Shirty again. I thought very interesting, decent form over in France. A listed winner there, and first start for David O'Mara. As the guys have said, brilliant record at York. So Get Shirty, I thought was an interesting one at 10 to 1. And Rajinsky that Keel's mentioned is 16 to 1.
Well, if our record from Royal Ascot carries on, David, then they'll be last and second last for sure. So we'll continue with that. Okay, that was the 410 at York. Quickly, Paul, your tips?
Yeah, Rajinsky and Scaramanga.
Okay, and Tom?
Bodyline for me.
Okay, and myself and David will throw in Elysian Flame and Get Shirty for that 2-mile handicap. As we move on to the last couple at York again, sprint handicaps are very much de rigueur for the Knavesmire, and we've got a couple more to close out the card. The 4:45 here is a Fillies handicap over the 5 furlongs, and again, a couple of 3-year-old sprinters very much in form are heading the betting, much like the opening contest at York. And it's Tweet and Tenea Canyon at 9 to 2. The joint favourites there. Ailpit's Maggie is 7 to 1. Princess Power 15 to 2. Stars in the Night 8s. Midwinster 9s. Attire is 9 to 1. Norbarn at 12s, and bigger the rest. And again, 2 incredibly progressive sprinters here. Usually in these kind of races, Paul, the 3-year-olds are up-and-comers at the bottom of the handicap, but these are 1-2 because they've had such a good year.
Yeah, they have. I mean, Tweet was a fairly obvious one for having a good year. I mean, she was 10 to 1 first time up this season. It was hard to believe, given she'd been a close third to a Talis Bay on her final start as a 2-year-old. So she's won 2 of her 3. The one flop was at this track, but she was second on a second start last year at York, so she can handle it. She's very fast, and I think she was always in command at Nottingham last time. So I think she out of the 2, she's probably the one to beat. I think she's pretty progressive. But there is an older sprinter who has become very well handicapped in Princess Power, who only ran the other day at Thirsk on a day when nothing could win if it didn't lead. Princess Power, she was third to Secret in the Park. And it's a fair while since she's run here, but 2 years ago she was a close-up 4th in a really, really good apprentice handicap at this meeting. I think Moss Gill was second. Moss Gill might have won it, and Wilson Kay Amaro won it, and Moss Gill was second, and she was 4th. She's only beaten a couple of lengths. That was off a mark of 87. She gets to run in here off 77 with Tyler Hurd taking £5 off. Could well have been the plan for a long while.
Those three finished ahead of her now are rated 103, 108 and 105. Excuse me, 105.
Yeah, exactly. Like, obviously there's reasons for that, but she's been running pretty well in relation to her handicap, Mark, and the coming back here might just be perfect for her. So, I think around about 8-1. I think she's the bet in the race.
Princess Power then for Paul Kealy in the penultimate race at York. 4:45 is 15-2. For the Nigel Tinkler stable. Sprint handicaps, Tom, you absolutely love them. I mean, if you were getting excited about that first one, then a Filly sprint handicap, where it's a 0 to 100, but the top rated is only 92. I mean, you must have been... You
lot are doing this on purpose now, aren't you? You heard me say I wanted to get to a football match, and you're banging on about sprint handicap until I'm blue in the face.
We're going on till 7:30 tonight, Tom. I don't know if you know that. We're going to do an extra sprint handicap special.
Deary me. I liked Ebor Festival. I thought she ran really well in the big race at the track, won by First Folio with Black Rod in second. Loads of good 3-year-old sprinters behind her that day. I just thought she was going to run really well. I want the ground to dry out for her a bit. But she's run all her best races at York. She's not run that many times, but her 3 best runs have all been at York. I think on that run behind First Folio and Black Rod, she's got every chance. She's only £2 higher here. I just think she's going to go really well. The only thing you'd say is that there's so much pace on in this race. You're wondering whether, whether she tweet and her pals will sort of get her off out of her comfort zone. But if she doesn't, she'd go well. And I did agree with Princess Power. I did look at her before coming on, and I thought the cheek pieces might work for her. I thought she's as Keel's pointed out, she's really well handicapped. She likes it here, so they would be my 2: Ebor Festival and Princess Power.
Okay, Ebor Festival and Princess Power, and yeah, I also agree. Ebor Festival never been out of the frame at York, and comes out of that tweet race as well. It looks absolutely rock solid for Tony Coyle and Kieran Schofield, albeit. The horse has won a couple of times. Kevin Stott on board both those times. Kieran Schofield yet to get to the bottom of her, but he does tend to ride her in the tougher races as well. So there's a couple of factoids to both go against and for her. Ebor Festival at 7-1. David, sprint handicaps, what have you got up your sleeve?
4 places each way here, but more importantly, Tom, what accent was that you just did Ebor Festival in? Can you just refresh us there?
Listen, stop it. Get on to the last race. Come on.
He's been to York. He's been to Yorkshire, David. He's been practising. Ebor Festival. There you go. Beautiful.
Yeah, well, that was almost better.
Well, it should be.
Stars in the night.
He's from there. You Sussex.
That's all right. Tom, why don't you go through your other array of accents? No, sorry, David, come on. Let's wrap this penultimate race up.
I thought we'd go through this runner by runner. Stars in the Night began the season with an all-weather hat-trick, then was moved up to listed class at Air. That was all a bit too much, but back down to a handicap at Thirst, finished second. And Kevin Ryan, again, like all these Yorkshire trainers, he'll be targeting this meeting. So Stars in the Night each way, but look forward to more impressions from Tom tomorrow night.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to go through his repertoire. Tweet and Tanea Canyon, then 92 joint favourites for the penultimate race at York. And the last race at York is a 22-runner 6-furlong nursery on the Knavesmire.
Don't you dare, Keels.
Wonderful stuff. And Paul has got a page of notes for every single runner. Bosch is the favourite at 9-2. Aristobulus is 15-2. Sisters in the Sky 9s. I'm a Gambler 9s. Jadlan 10s. Lady Lade is 12-1, 14-1, Papa Cocktail and Wonderful World, and bigger prices the rest. Tom, go on, then I'll come to you first, and then you can put your laptop down and run away. Tom, send us out with a winner, because it's unlikely that Reading will be doing that.
Bosch. I think Bosch has got a great chance. I think the form of that sales race at Nace last time was probably really good, beaten by a proper group horse. I think Bosch is very well handicapped. He'd be my number 1. The other one I like is Wonderful World, Mick Shannon's horse. Started a much shorter price than Chipotle. Mick Shannon debutant in the Brocklesby, 7-2 he started. He was 5-2 in the morning. He's obviously shown a lot. He then went to Bath and sort of fluffed his lines a bit, but that ended up being quite a good race as well. Obviously had a problem after that. Went to Brighton the other day, absolutely bolted up to 6 furlongs. Stays really well. I think he might be well handicapped too. So it's Bosch and Wonderful World.
Lovely.
I like them both. I back both of them. I think they've got good chances.
Okay, when you said Bosch, I just assumed you got to this race, looked at the favourite and thought, yeah, sure, that'll do.
Went on for ages, by the way.
I know.
Yeah, but I was trying to cut the time so you didn't go on for another 5 minutes.
I'm good. You can wait to give your nap until I've finished now. Is that right?
Yeah, Paul, you've got 7 selections, is this right?
No, I did Bosch, but I think Bosch is the one to beat. There are 2 in that sales race that are going to be quite well fancied for the sales race on Thursday here. But Aristobulus was backed really heavily last time out at Nottingham, was it?
It was.
It was Nottingham, and came through and absolutely blew them away, won by nearly 4 lengths. Got a £6 penalty, so he's officially £4 well in, and he's got to give him an awful lot of weight. He's got to give him £18, Bosch has got to give him. I think he might be a very well handicapped horse. They obviously knew they had a really well handicapped horse when he went on what was only his 3rd start in that first handicap, so I think he might be good enough to follow up.
He's huge as well. He's got a massive frame, and when you saw him coming through, you thought, okay, there's definitely more to come from him. So this is much tougher.
Yeah, I mean, he took his time to get going, but once he hit the front, he really went away, didn't he? So I think, he's obviously still learning on the job, and a real strong gallop, which is certain. As long as he doesn't get too far behind, it will suit him very well.
Okay, and I will throw Jadlard into the mix as we come to you for this, David. Mark Johnston usually has a raft of horses in this race. He's thrown 1 dart this year. That is Jadlard, who I think early on in the season they'd have been disappointed if he wasn't turning up for the summer and the autumn in group races. But he's won 2 crackers at the track, including a winner, and that second to Ever Given gives him form on a line through Bosch as well. So there's a few, David. Closes out then for the final race on day 1.
5 places each way in this notoriously tricky-looking nursery handicap, although Bosch is the right favourite based on that Irish run. Mark Johnson also says, I'm a gambler here, Ross. I think he trains that.
Of course he does, yes. In fact, he completely ignore everything I've just said.
And I'm a gambler bidding to win a hat-trick. Obviously ran at the weekend, won at Catterick, so interesting now going again with him. But as I say, Bosch is the right favourite here. 5 places each way in the last.
Okay, Bosch then 9-2. Final race of the day then. Tom Segal, what's the pick?
Bosch and Wonderful World for me.
Lovely stuff. Paul?
Just Aristobulus for me.
And David?
Bosch and I'm a gambler.
Okay, and I will go with Jadlan. I still think that form's good, even though I can't count. 10-1 then is Jadlan for the final race on day 1 of the Ebor meeting this week. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Hopefully, we'll have a few winning naps. So let's get to the panel and tell us what is the best bet on day 1 of York's Ebor meeting, starting off with Handicap King, Mr. Paul Kealy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Scaramanga in the 2-miler, which is 4:10. I think that form has worked out really well. You've got to give him another shot.
Okay, Scaramanga then it is for Paul. Tom, what's the nap on day 1?
I think Bosch is probably the best bet on the card. I'm hoping Alan Kerr beats Mishriff.
Okay, David Stevens, nap of day 1, please.
I've got to go with Mishriff in the Job on International to hopefully just get a winner on the board. And just a final reminder, of course, for our beaten by a length offer. If your horse is beaten by up to a length, you will get a free bet up to £10 on every race at York this week.
Lovely stuff. And I will live in the moment in the 150 at York tomorrow. A very much informed sprinter. 2 from 2 at the track. Hopefully, will be 3 from 3. That's it for day 1 then, here at In the Know Racing Post. And Coral will be back with you tomorrow night, of course, with all the fallout from day 1 and hopefully a few more winners for day 2 as well. Remember, of course, it is York. It's going to be very difficult indeed, so please gamble responsibly as the week goes on. And if you haven't already, like the stream and get your comments in for the remainder of the meeting as well. I've been Ross Brierley. Thank you to Paul Kealy, Tom Segal and David Stevens. And thank you to everyone watching at home as well. See you here tomorrow, 6 o'clock, for more of the same.